Hey guys, here's the gear for today. Same stuff as all of August. Chiseled Face Midnight Stag is the soap, splash, and cologne. A very divisive scent, but very manly. Leather, gasoline, smoke, and wood are the main notes. More about the notes is going to be in the description of the video. We're going to be using the Gillette Nacet blade. It's my marathon blade. I believe I'm on count number 589 today. It's either 589 or 590. The razor is the timeless open comb, stainless steel, 68 gap razor. The Samoga Owners Club is the brush with the Taj handle here. It's been soaking for a good 15-20 minutes in the water. I slung it out just now so that it wouldn't drip while I was holding it for the photo. So I'm going to put it back in some water. I'm going to get my face wet. We're going to have a talk today as I whip up the lather about blade gap. So that'll, because it's kind of a boring shave in the sense of I'm using the same stuff I have in the past. I'm not going to be experimenting with any kind of new method right now, just a standard bowl lather. And so I figured, I was looking through the wiki over on Reddit, r wet shaving, and for a topic to talk about. I talk about a lot of different issues throughout my shaves, so you'll pick up little bits of, as you watch them, but I rarely just dedicate a whole shave to a certain topic, or I haven't tried to gather everything up all together. It's just kind of bits and pieces as they come to my mind as I'm doing a video. But today I thought, hey, let's pick, surely there's something in the wiki, a common thing that I maybe don't talk about quite as much, and I think blade gap is one of those. I've mentioned it many times on my channel here, but I think it's a good thing to talk about while we whip up the lather. Got my face wet. Oh, let me show you the blade before we move on. There's the little markings and etchings and the bend in the blade, all those things, just so that the doubters can feel a little better that I'm telling the truth. All right. Yesterday I loaded for about 15 swirls, and it gave me a good nice amount of lather for about 5 or 6 passes. So let's see if the same amount will work with a normal bowl lather as opposed to yesterday, which was a slurry lather. I pulled out the brush. It was saturated. I gave it just a couple shakes and that's all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15 swirls. Let the excess water in the soap. I'm choosing to do that. It's not really a requirement, but letting the excess here drip into my bowl. So I've got a good bit of water in the bottom of the bowl there. Don't see a lot of soap on the brush, right? But you'll see quick enough. So we'll start whipping this together. Now, so I've got this blade gap little dock I created, and everything above that blank line in general are razor razor heads that will give me a comfortable shave kind of any day of the week. Everything below is more aggressive that I don't really like for a daily shave with a normal blade, not with this marathon blade, but with just a normal blade that's, you know, under 40 uses. And then the highlighted and bolded ones are ones that are out of place. And they go to illustrate my point of the fact that blade gap is just one aspect of a razor's geometry. And you should not compare, and this is the main overriding point here of today's talk, you should not compare the blade gap between two different razors that are not the same model from the same maker. If you are an experienced shaver, the talk may not be, is not going to be new information for you potentially. This list is found on the wiki, like I mentioned, and it was gathered from a table that was on the website of Above the Tie. It's an old company that made razors, good quality razors. I didn't find that they performed well enough for me. I think they were kind of the old school where they didn't really have good clamping underneath, and so that just wasn't my style. Not saying anything wrong with that, but it just wasn't for me. So I tried one and I sold it. But they had a website for a while, and they were handmade, and they looked of good, very good quality. And I like some of their handles quite a bit. So, but it just wasn't, the feel of the razor wasn't quite what I was looking for. And since they're expensive, I sold it and bought something else that I would enjoy more. And so some of the oddities in that gap list, in the beginning, in the more mild section, and I didn't really print up the really mild section. I started with kind of 0.61 millimeters. And we're looking at the Gen G bar, the adjustable Gillette at a number 2. See, that's a nice mild setting for me. I can do that all day long. Very comfortable. And then, but the 61, not only is that the measurement of the Gillette adjustable at a setting of 2, it's also the Rockwell R5. Now that's crazy. See, because with the Rockwell, there are 6 plate settings that you can use. And I only enjoyed the 2 and the 3. The 1 was too mild to be really of any use for me. So I stuck with the 2 and the 3. And so, adjustable, a Gillette at 2, I could do all day long, very mild, and then a Rockwell R5 to be the same gap. That just proves, because there's a total different feel for both of those. And it's because the gap is not the only important metric. What's really important, the gap is the distance from the blade to the base plate. It's the empty space between the blade and the base plate. But what's important is where the base plate, how far does it stick out, or how far is it retracted from that magical line between the top cap, and if I stop wherever the blade touches the comb, then that is the line where if the safety bar is on that line, then that's neutral exposure. The blade is not sticking out from these two positions, these two structures. If the blade doesn't touch the comb at all and it's recessed, then that's negative blade exposure. And so it all depends on where this safety bar is. There can be some differences in the top cap. You know, there are thicker top caps and thinner ones. Blade angle is also very important. But where that safety bar is, whether it sticks out more or is more retracted, whether it's with more gap, a lot of times an adjustable will simply raise the top cap or lower the base plate to add or subtract with the gap. And so in this case with the R4, it's got the same exact gap as the Gillette adjustable setting at a 2. And those are just totally different feels for me. Now, when we talk about an aggressive razor, there are actually 2 different metrics that you can be talking about. You might be talking about the feel of the razor. Does it feel aggressive? Does it feel harsh? Okay, but then there's also an aspect of, does it cut well? The Feather ASD2 is a stainless steel razor, very well made, but it's made, the market is young Japanese men or Japanese men with very fine, thin stubble, and they have sensitive skin, typically, and to be used with feather blades. And that is a perfect combination for me as well, not because I have fine hair, but because those feather blades just match that razor really well. Now, the Japanese men could probably change and use different blades with it and be fine, but for me, the feather blade was really the only blade that worked really well in that razor. Now, why I brought that up, I'm not really sure. So the R4, not a setting that I really enjoy. Oh, it has a nice firm grip on the blade, and so it can actually, when it has the feather blade in it, the ASD2, then it can give me a very nice close cut. It can be very efficient, but it is not aggressive feeling at all. And so that it's like that. The whole Karve series, one of the things I discovered when I was looking through this list, the Karves are on the higher gap end of the spectrum, yet for me, everything up to a D is very enjoyable on a daily shaving type basis. Comfortable, all that. And I can use them, you know, even twice a day if I wanted to. And the Rockwell is the opposite. It feels a lot more aggressive to me, even though the gap is less than the Karves. It's just that the Karve holds the razor blade better. It's got better underblade clamping closer to the edge than the Rockwell. I'm not saying it's a better razor, it's just better for me. If it's my preferences better, you guys might like the Rockwell better. But I found that kind of interesting. Like right here in the list, we've got the Rockwell R4, we've got the Rockwell R5, Rockwell R6. The R6 is the most aggressive one. I don't use the R6 at all, but look, just a little bit greater in gap is the Karve Christopher Bradley C, and that's crazy comfortable for me. So the worst Rockwell setting has a smaller gap than the Karve C, which is a razor I can use all day long. It's because those other factors, the safety bar probably sticks out a little bit more on the Karve to give the blade less exposure, and so it can be a higher gap but give me a more comfortable shave. That's probably the metric that's happening. The firmness of the grip probably helps a little bit in terms of the feeling of aggression, but I think the biggest factor is going to be the blade exposure due to where they're putting the safety bar, whether the bar is sticking out more, probably something like that. And so, like here's the Timeless 68. That is the solid bar version of what I'm using right now. And that's it right here. And then it's got virtually the same gap as the Rockwell R5, which is a gap I don't use at all. So, isn't that interesting? So, what does that practically mean for you as a browser? It just means when you're looking at that kind of chart, just don't compare. Don't compare the gaps. If you're going there and let's say I have a Gillette Ranger Tech, which is a 0.64 gap, then it makes no logical sense to say I want a more aggressive razor. So let's see, the Razor Game Changer 68 has a 0.68 gap. That's a little bit more than the Ranger Tech. Well, guess what? That Razor 68, way more mild than the Ranger Tech. Way more mild. In terms of feeling and in terms of the way it cuts. But mainly in terms of aggression feeling. What you can compare the gaps on is same razor company, same razor model. So, Karve Christopher Bradley, but see they've put A, B, C, and D, so you don't really need to know the numbers, because you know that B is more aggressive than A, C is more aggressive than B, that sort of thing. But the numbers could help you in terms of, I want something a lot more aggressive, maybe that. But and with the Timeless, you can compare the 68 to the 95, because that's the same geometry. It's the same razor model. The only difference is the gap. And so yes, the 95 will always be more aggressive feeling than the 68 because the number is bigger. Let me get my face wet one more time. And so don't look at that list and say, hey, I'm using the Timeless 95, and so the Karve Christopher Brad or the Rockwell R6 is 0.2 millimeters more mild, more small in gap, so therefore it should be milder. It's not. At least it doesn't feel that way to me. The R6 is way more aggressive than the Timeless 95. And some other curiosities. The Karve Christopher Bradley D is another one I can use all day, but that's the last one. It makes a big jump for me when it goes from D to E. E is one I can't use very much. Let's see, what, 1.75 was as high as their table went. So this, on our wiki, it's a copy from the, just for posterity, the table that was at the ATT above the Thai website. And so it's kind of a historical thing that we just wanted to preserve. The Stahly Live Blade. That's kind of almost a novelty blade of antiquity. It's the one that has a thick stainless steel chrome looking appearance, and it's actually got a winding mechanism, and it vibrates. Once you start winding it up, it vibrates, and that's kind of a gimmick. But the head is actually really well designed, and it works great even if you don't have the vibration enabled at all. Matter of fact, I kind of think it works better without the vibration. I'm sorry, I'm hiccuping a little bit. That's why I'm pausing sometimes. And so the most aggressive in terms of gap, the biggest gap is the Stahly Live Blade. and that's the same gap as the butterscotch chick injector. And both of those I can use all day long. And then the Gillette adjustable at a 9 is a 1.14. So that's, 0.55 millimeters smaller than the Stahly and the butterscotch injector. And it's something I can't use. I don't use that number 9. I mean, I can, but it's just not comfortable. I'll probably generate some irritation. So that is just funny, almost comical, how the gap, it has to be, it can be so different and not matter at all, and not tell you anything intelligent and relevant about the whether the razor will be aggressive feeling or not. It has to be spoken of in terms of other parts, other attributes as well, like blade exposure especially. Lather is about as good as the typical lather from this base gets. It's not that lightly creamy. It's slick enough to do the job, but not really slick. Anything else that jumped out? Yeah, the Karve CB G is at a 1.36, and the G, there's no way I can use that with a normal blade. And yet 4.4 millimeters more are those two that I was mentioning, the Stahly and that particular injector. So the Karve gaps are higher, but they provide me greater comfort on average, where the Rockwell gaps are lower, but they provide me with a more aggressive feel in general. It's funky. Anything else jump out at me about that? Oh, and the Game Changer 68, of course, has a 0.68 millimeter gap. But that, to me, is an almost useless razor head. It's so mild that I just get really bad shaves with it. I had to search really hard to try to find certain blades that work well with the 68, so much that it just wasn't worth, trying to use it, keeping it around. The 85 is the base plate for the Game Changer that works really well for me. Now the 85, what else is an 85? The Karve CB C. Now see, those are actually comparable. Those have gaps that are similar and do also happen to feel similar. And so that probably means the other aspects of the geometry, like the exposure, like where the safety bar is placed, are probably similar. But you just don't know that until you experience it, or you hear word from somebody else who has experienced it. So that, hopefully, anybody who doesn't know about blade gap, hopefully that can help you understand it a little bit more. And yes, it's a good thing to know, kind of. It's really only useful if you're talking about the same razor, same model. Even the timeless, you can't even say the blade gap is important between two timeless models. There's the bronze, which is a 0.38, and then this is a 0.68. That 0.38 in the bronze, because it has a different head design than the stainless steel. The 3.8 is actually a little more aggressive than the 6.8, even though the number of the 3.8 is smaller. It's just all about geometry. Good, we've got the pass in place. So if you have any questions about geometry, feel free especially gap, because that's today's subject, feel free to post them in the comments, and I will, especially if they're shorter questions, I'll be able to jump on those pretty quickly. If it's something long and involved, I'm very busy these days with moving and work, and so I may not be able to put forth a really good, long, response to something. But if it's shorter, where a few sentences will be a good explanation, then I'm usually able to take care of those. Yeah, and the funny thing is, the 6.8 is 1/100th smaller than the Rockwell R6, the highest setting on the Rockwell. So 1/100 separates a base plate, a razor, the Razor Rock, the Game Changer, a razor that is barely usable for me, and then add 1/100th to it, and you get a razor that I can't use. And it's all about the other aspects of the geometry, not the gap only. Did I get this? See, right now, I don't have that nice, slick layer that I get when I do a slurry lather, and that's just this base. It just doesn't quite work that way. I can wet my hand, and then if I spread a little bit of the lather around on my face, then it reinvigorates and it's fine. But with I think the slurry lather lays down a little bit more soap on my face and then has water around it, so that slickness just stays much longer. Matter of fact, it's hard to get rid of sometimes. Anything else I wanted to cover there? Nope, I think that's about it. So if you want to look at those gaps and just see what I was seeing, feel free to go to reddit.com/r/wet shaving/wiki, and you can look for the blade gap chart. All right, I think we are good to go. Let's do it and just kind of let that be the shave for today. And let me get a good rinse, and yeah. Okay, I just did 3 passes, and I have so much lather. I have 3 or 4 more passes left of lather here, if not more. And so this is just proof that the lather bowl is a much more conservative use of soap than the face lathering methods in general. There are some guys out there who have good face lathering methods that do not use very much soap, but that, compared to a bowl lather, I think that's few and far between. And by and large, people are generally using way more soap when they face lather. Matter of fact, that's on the wiki. There's a question on the FAQ that says, do I need a lather bowl? And it says absolutely not. Well, it's because most of the writers that were writing the wiki are face latherers, not bowl latherers. And so they kind of have that bias a little bit. I'm actually going to petition to have that changed, because they specifically said you can use, you'll use less soap when you face lather. And that is just almost categorically false. It is possible to use less, maybe, but I pretty much guarantee you, if I find somebody who uses a little bit of soap, I can probably do better, use even less and get more lather with a bowl, and so I think that's leading people the wrong way. Generally, when people face lather, they use more soap than if they bowl lather. So I'm hoping to get that changed, just for the sake of objectivity. The splash. So hopefully you guys got something out of today's talk. 24 milliliters of water were added. So that's a good bit of water, and the brush was not lightly wet like usual. To get that lather, I was able to push a good bit of water into it. It didn't really stay lightly creamy. It was kind of it wasn't an emulsion that had broken, but it just lost that creaminess. And so in a sense, it failed. But it was serviceable. It was slick enough to get the job done, but did not leave very much residual slickness behind for that ultra comfy luxury type feel. There wasn't very much luxury here. It was practicality. And that's okay. It's an inexpensive soap base. And you get the amazing scents like Sherlock and Midnight Stag and Gearhead and Guy Noir and Summer Storm and let's see there's another one, Pine Tar. I like that one. And Ghost Town Barber, very nice. A little twist on the barbershop genre. I like that one too. And now, yep, we've got everything cleaned, so I'm going to go ahead and put on the cologne. And there we go. If you have any other aspects of the shaving journey, so today we talked about blade gap. If you have something else that maybe you're interested in, feel free to post it, and I'll cover what I know about it in future days. Thanks so much. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.